Notre Dame adds to its 2022 recruiting class with three-star wide receiver Amorion Walker from Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Mike, what do you see in this addition for Notre Dame, and what do you like here when you watch this film?
There's a lot to discuss here, but let's pop on his film here. This first clip is him taking a kickoff return to the house. Then you're gonna see a few clips of him at cornerback, and then the rest at receiver. So this is a guy who, when Notre Dame offered him last November, I was like, did they offer at DB? Did they offer at receiver? Definitely a receiver take for Notre Dame, and one that the staff has prioritized. This is the first receiver commit of the class, and again, a guy that Del Alexander, receivers coach, Tommy Reese, the offensive coordinator, really valued and went after hard. And I like him at DB too. I don't see him necessarily as a corner, but if receiver doesn't work out, could see him as a rangy safety in the 6'3", 6'4" range, 170, 180 pounds, speedy guy. I think Notre Dame fans might look at the offer list and be like, oh, well, where's LSU? Why isn't LSU on his offer list? Well, by that logic, Notre Dame didn't offer Caden Curry, defensive lineman in Indiana, till late, and everyone else had offered him. So does that mean Caden Curry was no good? Like, guys, you can't really think like that. Like, every recruitment is different. Just like pop on this kid's tape, and there's just so much to like. This is a guy who only played in 3 games as a junior, and this is his junior tape we're watching. He had a hamstring injury that was bugging him. Was a downfield threat as a sophomore. Didn't catch a ton of balls, but the ones he did, were downfield for big gains. So this is a young man who is really just starting to scratch the surface of how good he is. He's got real 4.5, 4, maybe he's a 4.5 guy, 4.6. I don't know what he's running in the 40, but that is what comes out to me like real speed as a youngster. He's got great size, great ball skills. You see the athleticism on both sides of the ball. Does a lot of different things, whether it's getting an end around in the return game. This catch right here is just a work of art. Solid get for Notre Dame as the first receiver in the class. No quarrels here. I think this was a solid get for the Irish.
So, like you mentioned, Mike, November 2020 offer, but how did this come together now that as we record this in early March of 2021 that has led Amorion Walker to being part of Notre Dame's class?
Yeah, so what's interesting is that Terry Joseph offered him. Like, Terry Joseph led the way in Notre Dame recruiting Logan Diggs, a running back from Louisiana, who the Irish signed the 2021 class. Joseph was a Louisiana guy, and he offered Walker and was building a relationship there. Terry Joseph's cousin is Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Cardinals. Well, a family member of Walker, the name is escaping me, I think it's Reggie Walker, played for Arizona last season before getting cut. So there's a little bit of a connection there. Well, then Joseph leaves. Where does that leave Walker? Again, someone that the coaching staff at Notre Dame wanted. So the Irish staff, continued there. Del Alexander, Tommy Reese, continued to push. Mississippi State was considered the team to beat here. His father was a tight end for the Bulldogs, but Notre Dame beat out Mississippi State. Florida State, Kansas State were all schools he liked, but Notre Dame edged them out, and he committed without ever having taken a visit to Notre Dame, but he was someone that didn't mind getting out of state.
So he's the first receiver in the class for Notre Dame. How do you think this impacts the class overall, and in particular, where the receiver room and the numbers there go from here now with Walker part of it?
Yeah, this is someone, Patrick, who we it's funny, on our podcast on Tuesday, Pod Like a Champion, we broke down 5 guys who I feel like were next to commit, And that was, an idea that I got for the podcast based on an article I wrote at blueandgold.com, which was 13 players who were potentially next to commit to Notre Dame. And Walker was on that list. He's someone I wrote about in a mock class at blueandgold.com. I believe it was just last Monday or the Monday before that, as a guy I projected in the receiver class. So this is someone who's ranked as a 3-star. I don't think Notre Dame fans are going to get too excited about this. I say this all the time. These YouTube videos, all of our articles, we don't do these for coaches, right? We do these for fans. Like, so, I'm speaking to you, Notre Dame fan. He's got 3 stars on his name right now. What you got to remember is that dinged up his entire junior season. Hasn't been able to hit the camp circuit. But he really is impressed the Notre Dame coaching staff. The ceiling is high, like we said with the Steve Angeli commitment. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Amorion Walker is going to win a Heisman or a Balintikoff. Like, I don't know. But what you see on tape, like, I don't know how you can watch that and be like, this kid, guys, he looks really good on tape. So the size of that big boundary receiver, but he's not some like Ben Skronik possession guy. Like, Amorion Walker has legit speed, so this is your solid first receiver commitment of the class. Notre Dame's going to be able to add a couple more guys to the class, and there's some big names that the Irish are in the mix for. So, Notre Dame's certainly getting a good receiver commitment here.
So Walker's the 9th commit of the 2022 class for Notre Dame. So far, Mike, what are your thoughts on how this is taking shape?
Yeah, it's a solid class. It's funny with recruiting. It's always the next class, and then once the class kind of cycles down, Notre Dame's kind of finishing with some 3-star guys, and it's like, well, the next class. This class, I think the ceiling is huge for this class. Will it be a top 5 class? We talked about it in a recent podcast. I feel like the chance of that is possible. You've got to get lucky with a guy like Amorion Walker. Like, this is a guy who is a top target for Notre Dame. Like, this is a guy they wanted, whether he's a 3, 4, or 5-star. They wanted Amorion Walker. Does he end up getting a bump to a 4-star if he impresses on the camp circuit this spring and summer and then has a strong senior season? Do some other guys get a bump? Aiden Gobira, 3-star defensive end, I feel like is going to end up as a 4-star prospect in my opinion. So we'll kind of see, but the early pieces, rankings or not, I really like. So solid start to Notre Dame's 2022 class. 9 commitments on the offensive side of the ball. Quarterback Steve Angeli, running back Jadarian Price, receiver Amorion Walker, tight end Jack Nickel, and a couple of offensive linemen in Ty Chan and Joey Tanona. Defensive side of the ball, Tyson Ford, Aiden Gobira are your defensive linemen. A 4-star linebacker in Nolan Ziegler committed. And the only position Notre Dame doesn't have committed yet, of course, other than the specialists, which I don't think Notre Dame will take a specialist on scholarship in this class, is defensive back. Irish don't have a defensive back commitment, but a put in a future cast for Notre Dame to land a 4-star player at cornerback on Tuesday night. So make sure to check that out at blueandgold.com.
Amorion Walker out of Ponchatoula, Louisiana, the latest commit in Notre Dame's 2022 class.